Okay, we have a very interesting article here going over the places around the world with zero corporate taxes. So let us just go right to the article and let's share with everybody what's going on here. So, a short overview of places with zero corporate taxes. In a globalized world, setting corporate tax rates has often been described as a race to the bottom. By having a lower rate than other nations, a country can hope to attract more businesses or at the very least their headquarters. This allows them a windfall of tax revenue that other jurisdictions then miss out on. For some, the race to the bottom has in fact found the ground at zero. In the following graphic, visual capitalist Pallavi maps the very short list of places with zero corporate taxes, as you see here in this illustration. Isle of Man, Guernsey, Jersey, Bahrain, Bermuda, Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, British Virgin Islands, Anguilla, St. Bartholomew, Cayman Islands, Vanuatu, and Wallis and Futuna. So, life, death, and no corporate taxes. Small island nations in the Caribbean, the Pacific, and the British Isles make up the majority of countries and territories with no corporate tax requirement. Many of them also don't have income tax or capital gain taxes either. So we can see Anguilla, BVI, Vanuatu, only Isle of Man, Guernsey, and Jersey have an income tax, but the rest of the list is zero corporate tax and zero capital gains tax. Wallis and Futuna Islands, Turks and Caicos, St. Bartholomew, Bahamas, Bahrain, Bermuda, Cayman. Wow. So the asterisk here would be that exempt companies in banking and finance, cannabis, and firms in retail with taxable profits above £500,000. And so, yeah, changes are coming according to this list for Bermuda. And then finally, for Bahrain, there is an exception for firms that are in oil and gas. So, as a result, these places are the listed headquarters of hundreds of companies from around the world and often dubbed as the tax havens. Aside from tax havens, some countries also have little need for corporate taxes due to revenue from key industries like oil. However, they also come with a fine print worth reading. For example, as we just said, Bahrain has no corporate taxes unless a firm is involved in the oil and gas sector, in which it attracts a rather steep 46% rate. In the crown dependencies, banking and finance companies have to pay a 10% rate. Property income retail businesses whose taxable profits are above £500,000 and firms in the cannabis industry also get taxed. Meanwhile, Bermuda will introduce a 50% corporate tax in 2025. This will only apply to firms that are part of multinational groups with an annual revenue of 800 million or more. This minimum 50% rate is part of a deal proposed by the OECD in an attempt to prevent multi-billion-dollar tax havens. Financial Times explains, if a country has a corporate tax rate below the minimum threshold, other jurisdictions can apply a top-up tax to make up the difference. This reduces the incentive for tax havens to have a lower rate, as other countries can increase tax revenues at their expense. End of article. So, for those of us that do not have CPAs, but have worked alongside CPAs to create holding companies and, if you will, shell companies, this list is quite familiar. Having said that, the very last sentence of this article is really the sort of question mark for those of us that are not experts, which is saying that what? In order to attempt to prevent multi-billion-dollar tax havens, the OECD has forced Bermuda to introduce a 50% corporate tax as of next year, 2025. So, in conclusion, though, this is most important to comprehend. If a country has a corporate tax rate below the minimum threshold, other jurisdictions can apply a top-up tax to make up the difference. This reduces the incentive for tax havens to have a lower rate, as other countries can increase tax revenues at their expense. So it's basically saying if you squeeze the balloon from one end, that'll just expand on the other. So it seems that they have closed this loophole, at least when it comes to Bermuda, if they're referring to that in this final part of the article. But the illustration here for this graph, this chart, this table here, quite clear from corporate tax, income tax, and capital gains tax, minus the three little islands south of London. And then up here, you can just see that it's the Caribbean, a whole handful in the Caribbean, two out in the South Pacific. We're very familiar with Vanuatu, and then supposedly Bahrain, because of course Abu Dhabi and Dubai have jettisoned the 0% tax in many categories as of many months ago at this point. So it's no longer, the UAE is no longer the haven it used to be. So just wanted to go over this list, talk about holding companies and tax rates. For those of us that have built these companies, it's something that clients will frequently ask if they don't have the legal input from their side or the CPAs from their side to talk about corporate structuring, where it's best, where it's most beneficial to build the sort of holding company or the parent company where the subsidiaries will feed into. So this is just called, proactive tax planning, tax optimization. So these countries on this list are, of course, fighting to be the headquarters or the location of the holding company, almost certainly. And then it's up to people like us that are opening these off-the-shelf companies to sort of maximize the full profit from the revenue, especially if there's going to be a big bite taken off from the taxes. So that's where it stands. Very informative article. Some people may be less familiar to this, but BVI. I'm surprised they don't have Seychelles here, but some of these lists are of course at 0%, but a lot of these other countries that are not on this list are single-digit places. Seychelles comes to mind as a place that I've been dealing with for many years, because I can speak of certain case studies of large corporations in the billions of valuations have used Seychelles as the sort of holding company. Okay, very interesting article. Very good to read this. Very informative. And let's see who continues to hold the line at 0% across the board. Have a good day, everybody.